Federal agencies coming together today to talk how to keep guns here in the U.S. out of the hands of violent drug cartels down in Mexico. They were there to talk about their crackdown on illegal guns being smuggled across the border. In Laredo, U.S. Customs and Border Protection joining forces with the Department of Homeland Security and the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives to showcase recent weapons that were recovered. The seized firearms on display were part of an effort to send a strong message about the serious consequences of gun smuggling, especially as major Mexican cartels are now classified as foreign terrorist organizations.
Whether it's DPS, state, locals, we all work together. But on these issues, when it comes to cartel violence, we see it more than other people do. If you're in South Texas, if you're in San Antonio, the violence that occurs in Mexico, cartel related, it makes it to San Antonio.
Officials also say there are criminal penalties tied to straw purchases. That's when someone illegally buys a firearm for another person. Now, the efforts come shortly after the bodies of 5 musicians from the band that is Grupo Fugitivo were found in Reynosa, a city along the Texas border. Tamaulipas state prosecutors say the men were kidnapped while traveling to a venue there that they were hired to play. Prosecutors say 9 suspects believed to be a part of the cartel were arrested. Investigators still trying to figure out a motive for those murders. Several federal agencies coming together today in South Texas to send a clear message about guns from the U.S. and how far too many times they're ending up in the hands of the cartels in Mexico. They talked about a recent crackdown on weapons heading across the border from the U.S. during a press event today out in Laredo. News 4 San Antonio's Taylor Warden be in Laredo for that event and has details now on the stepped-up enforcement.
Right now in San Antonio and all of Texas, U.S. officials are ramping up their efforts on a dangerous pipeline. Guns purchased in the U.S. and then smuggled south into Mexico, oftentimes ending in the hands of dangerous cartels. These aren't props. These are actual guns recently seized by authorities. Guns that were being smuggled across the border into Mexico, but were stopped before they ended up in the hands of the cartel. U.S. Customs, along with other law enforcement agencies, put the weapons on public display next to the outbound inspection lanes headed into Mexico to highlight their recent work.
Through this strong collaboration between CBP, ATF, and HSI, we are able to work together as a force multiplier and effectively disrupt and dismantle transnational criminal organizations involved in weapons trafficking and make America safer in the process.
Donald Cusser with Customs and Border Protection says recent executive orders have given federal agencies more authority to act.
Every firearm that crosses that border into the hands of a criminal organization represents a potential act of terror and a threat to the safety of people on both sides of the border.
Homeland Security officials say this is a top priority as gun violence in Mexico has increased in recent years. It's a violence that often makes its way up I-35 into our area.
If you're in San Antonio, the violence that occurs in Mexico, cartel related, it makes it to San Antonio.
New penalties are also helping, which have increased penalties for gun trafficking, carrying up to 15 years in prison and a $250,000 fine.
Yes, it's a serious crime, and we understand the impact that a lot of these firearms have in Mexico.
Authorities right now say the stakes are higher than they've ever been. That's because cartels are now classified as foreign terrorist organizations, which means so are the consequences for anyone that helps them. In Laredo, I'm Taylor Warden reporting.